Welcome, welcome. I am Almedia Exum, and we have the Anarkist here. We are reviewing Lovecraft Country episode. We're on episode 6, right?
5.
Five,
This is
episode
5,
five,
yeah.
of course. We are on episode 5 of Lovecraft Country, called Strange Case. Thank you so much for tuning in. Want to say hello to everyone, Anarchist?
Peace, y'all. You know who it is. It's your boy, the Anarkist. Don't forget to hit like right now on the video. Hit like. You're about to hear some really good information. And let's go ahead and get into it.
All right. This episode was so interesting and so just like so unexpected. I was not expecting any of this. So the episode starts off where I guess we left off last episode with Ruby uh having sex with William. So she was having sex with him, and so this episode starts off with a woman, a white woman, and this is the vessel of this white woman is the same woman that was in episode 2. She was the woman that had the dogs. Uh, on in the lounge that Christina.
Yeah, I was going to mention that. I noticed that too, that it was the same white woman who played the role in that, where they went to the lodge, the Masonic Lodge, and who had the dogs and who seemed very racist. I don't think necessarily though it ties into each other. I wanted to see if it did because I do remember her. I'm like, oh, I wonder if that woman's going to have any sort of consciousness, or is that if that's going to have anything to do with this going on? Because clearly, how the episode comes in is like you said, the episode 4 ends with Rudy meeting. Oh, I'm sorry, Ruby meeting a white man, which we know as William. One of the sons of Adam, and she kind of. It's interesting because that scene denotes just how black and white relations were back then. I know some people like to think black people and white people were way separated, didn't deal with each other sexually or whatnot, but obviously that's not true. White people and black people have been having sex with each other since slavery days, and that never stopped.
Mm-hmm.
So in
We
that
know it
scene,
that
she
William.
talks about she actually talks about she kind of treats him like, oh, I know what you white men want and this, that, and the other. You're gonna tell me this, that, and the other. You're gonna tell me you can give me the world. And then he goes, well, what if I can promise it? And which I
Mm.
thought was a little cheap. I'm like, Ruby, don't go for that, girl. You too much, what I'm saying? So, but
Beautiful sister. I'm like, but you could tell something was going on with her. She was just down on her luck. Like, I guess after the last time we saw her, I think the last time we saw her, she was
she was
she
leaving Letitia or getting mad at Letitia or something like that.
yeah, so she's just kind of like down on her luck. Who knows if she's still staying at the house with Letitia? Maybe she is, but you could just see her just like in this space of just like after performing in this bar, she seems like she's kind of in a vulnerable state in last week's episode. So we leave from that until now, where it's this white woman who the scene starts off with a white woman naked in the bed, and she wakes up, looks in the mirror, and says, "Wake up, Ruby, wake up." I'm like, huh? Your name not Ruby, because Ruby is Letitia's sister, Letty's
Oh
sister.
yeah, right. Which
And so,
immediately lets us know that this is Ruby, but she's in a white person's body, white woman's
yes,
body. So
yes, and
yeah.
so immediately we have like this white version of Ruby, this woman's body that's supposed to be Ruby, uh trying to like she's in this black neighborhood just trying to figure out what's going on. A white woman all crazed and confused, and everyone's trying to help her, which is indicative to who we are as like a people. And even back then, like they're probably like, why is this white woman looking all confused in a house robe? And everyone's trying to help her, and you see what happens with the cop. She runs into a little black boy and he's trying to help her, and then the cops come over and immediately start antagonizing him, which is what really can happen, and that has happened. Like they're always, even a young innocent black boy is immediately a criminal, an aggressor, some in the minds of like a white supremacist or anyone who's racist. You know what I mean? Like, and she's all shocked, like, what is going on? Like, is this real? Is this a dream? Like, no, he didn't do anything. And how I think it was great that they put that in there, because how quickly certain people, especially racist cops, are quick to criminalize young black boys who have done nothing wrong, you know? And I thought that was interesting. And then you know what I want to talk about? I don't know if you noticed this, but in the beginning they had this creepy song playing that I've heard in other TV shows and movies. It was that song, "You Belong to Me." It's a creepy song. It's been played in a lot of things, so it gives us this like a horror element to it. It's called Tonight You Belong to Me. The song was featured in like American Horror Story. It was featured in Norman Bates. I feel like it was featured in that show about that movie where you can like go out of your body. It's that movie, I forget what it's called. Not The Conjuring, but one of those movies where you basically experience, what is that called when you leave your body?
Astral traveling.
Yeah, it was a movie about like astro travel or something like that. And this song was played in it. So it's a creepy song and it's playing in the beginning of the episode, which gives me very much like Jordan Peele and other people like vibes or whatever, mainly American Horror Story. So you have this song playing in the beginning of the episode to let us know like some weird stuff is about to happen, some dark stuff is about to happen. And you see this happening with this woman and she's all confused. She gets into the police car and well, the police come to get her and say, "Hey, your husband told us about you. You know, you're off your meds, and we're gonna take you back home." And she's seeing what neighborhood they're going back to. They're going
No, no,
back
no.
to
Wait.
Williams' neighborhood.
Before you go into that, I
Okay.
wanted to comment on the scene where Ruby, who is in this white skin, she doesn't know why, but she's just walking around dazed and confused. As you said, it just looks like just some crazy white woman that's walking in a black neighborhood. She tries to stop at a barbershop, sees her face again, and people are like, "Hey, ma'am, can I help you? Like, what's going on?" So I think she like either darts the other way or whatever, and then she bumps pretty much into this boy holding some popcorn. What I thought was the
Yep.
most interesting about that scene is the way it looked. Now, just get this: it's very subtle the way filmmakers do things because there's two things going on. There's what's actually happening in the scene, and then there's what we know about. And then sometimes your mind goes to this is how they try to explain scenarios using a whole nother scenario. So we just in this scene, but it's juxtaposed to another idea. So for example, or just to illustrate what I'm saying, she bumps into this black boy and immediately comes whoop whoop. I'm like, didn't nobody call their ass?
Exactly. It was waiting
I'm like,
for it.
they wasn't called. The second she got bumped, they like, get your ass, get your butt on the ground, you little black boy. What did you get away from her? And then it's just like so. But what you feel is, but what we know is that William actually called the police to look for his quote unquote wife. So they would search him, and he told them that she was off her meds. So they're in this mindset where it's like, we're looking for this woman. People could be taking advantage of her. That's actually what happened in the film. But what we see, because we only find out that afterwards, what we see is she bumps into this black boy. Police immediately swoop up. They getting on him, about to take him, and then, but in the scene, what you can tell, what the filmmakers were trying to, and writers were trying to make you believe is, in actuality, what's going on is this is a white woman, this is a black boy, and these are police. I think she wants you to understand if you are a white person and you at least can understand how black people feel and think, if you have the consciousness of a black person, which that
And
white
the
woman did,
reality of what is happening.
right, then you can kind of, instead of just feeling like, maybe because, obviously this episode was touching about interracial relationships. That was a subject in this episode, as well as homosexual relationships, which we'll get into. Those were themes in this episode. So as far as the race thing goes, I think what the writers were trying to say is, if you're a white person and you're in this situation where there's this black person who's not really doing anything, not doing anything at all, but they're being antagonized by the police, this is your power where you can help. Because that's what she was like, no, 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 he was trying to help me. You don't do anything to him. He was trying to help me. So it's just like trying to show people you have this power. Police, they're going to be police and they're going to go off their own preconceived notions. Remember, these particular police believe that this, woman is off her meds and, people could be taking advantage of her. So, but obviously still it's back then in 1950. So it's not like they're going to give the black boy any leeway, but that's just a metaphor for police have these preconceived notions. You as a white person in these Karens out here, which I believe that's kind of talking about, because police, black boy, white woman, so if you are someone who the black community might perceive as a Karen because you're one of those people that's phone happy, like some people are trigger happy, you phone happy, police, there's some black people standing around, they look suspicious. They're trying to show you in this episode, this is the power that you have. Like, you pretty much command this authority. So yeah, we go into the next. She is Ruby, as the white woman, is in this backseat of this police car. She's going into a neighborhood she doesn't recognize. So she sees the white people walking around. She's like, oh, what's going on here? And they explain to her, yeah, your husband told us, ma'am, that, you haven't taken your medication. So that basically would explain her erratic behavior. She's like, "Oh, get me out of here! No, no, no! Don't take me back! Don't take me back!" So they just like, "Okay, he told us this would all happen." So it was interesting. But yeah, you want to
Hmm.
explain the rest, Almedia?
Yeah, thank you for that. Thank you so much, the Anarkist, for breaking that down for us. Yeah, I just want to add to what you're saying. So, yeah, in this scene, we see this happening, and I just also think it's interesting how, what if she, like, we know this is Ruby, but I just want to imagine with me for a second if this, in another case, in reality, if this woman was completely fine but she was kidnapped, and then just because a man says, oh yeah, she's my wife and she's crazy, bring her back, just think about the lack of power women have. I think that that's also something that's being said, like, all this man has to say is, you're his wife, you don't have a ring on. I don't think, like, you're his wife, and if you find her, bring her back to me, she's crazy. What if he was literally doing what he did to Ruby? What if he was torturing this woman? But because she's a woman in a male dominated society, her voice isn't being heard. So I just thought that was another narrative that was being said, or at least trying to be said without saying in this scene.
Yep,
So,
and remember, Misha Green also, I'm not sure if she's like a feminist or a black feminist or a womanist, but she definitely, I can tell just by watching this, not just this episode, but this entire TV show, that she is someone who is for not just black empowerment, but woman empowerment as well, because she does make that point. This is 1950s America. A woman is gone, we taking you back to your husband, no questions asked. You understand? So yeah.
yeah. And so we see that she ends up back there, and she's kind of like twitching, and you see arms and stuff crawling within her own flesh, which is weird to try to explain or describe. But what we find out is that William has given her a potion for metamorphosis, so that she has turned into this white woman, and the potion is, like, I guess, wearing off, because then she starts to, like, come out of the shell of the flesh, which is so gross watching. Like, and we see all throughout the episode, we keep seeing her come out of this flesh like a caterpillar, like a I don't know, like a snake shedding from its skin. I just thought it was gross. I wonder how long it took for them to do those scenes. Like, the makeup department has something to go through with all of that. But yeah, so we see that happening, and William is trying to hold her down. And before the first time we reveal that this is what's going on, he takes a silver knife and he's above her, and she says, "I don't want to die," and he, like, stabs her in the chest. I wonder what that was about. Was that an initiation? Do you know? Is there anything deeper to read into that? Because why do that to her? Why stab her if she can't? Can she not die in the flesh? Like, why stab her with a silver knife? What does that knife represent? Or dagger,
Um,
or whatever it is.
I'm not exact. If there's a deeper meaning, I'm not exactly sure what it is. But what I got from that scene was that that was the very first time that Ruby was figuring out how, when the thing wore off, to leave the skin. So to me, what I got from it was what I don't like about this particular episode. I'll just come out and say it. That when she would take the potion and become a white woman, how she transferred back to me. The first time it happened, I'm like, okay, this is interesting because we're trying to figure out what's going on. We just hear and just all this other stuff. I'm just like, what's happening? So yeah, in that scene, he takes a knife and he basically cuts the body. And but I believed he was doing that just to kind of get her out of the box. She didn't realize like this stuff is about to shed. I'm here, but
Mm,
it was set up like a scary scene. Like, what is he doing with the knife? I don't want to die. Like she didn't realize what was happening, and maybe she thought he was trying to kill him, which we thought because it's like, why you got all this stuff down for blood? But what we see is he basically cut open the body and was taking her out of it. And after that, she realized that she would just basically just be gripping off and shedding the skin. So
hmm
there may be some type of symbolism behind that, but what I got from it was just him the very first time she not understanding what's going on with this magic, so he just basically doing that to get her off the skin.
Okay. And then we hear in the background, there's a white newscaster in the background. I thought that was kind of cool to just see these old school TVs in black and white and stuff. And they're talking about this flood, or not flood, but overpopulation of, like, cicadas or some type of insect. And I think that's interesting that they're talking about, like, this species of, like, if it's not cicadas, it's not like a butterfly. It's something that's supposed to be dangerous, and they basically overpopulate, and how they have to get control of this, because it's overpopulated, and there's too many of them, and they shed their skins, and basically they're describing kind of like what's happening to her, but about, like, this insect thing that's kind of like a butterfly, kind of like a cicada type of thing. I don't know. I forget what it was. And I think it's interesting that they're talking about that in the background, but how they also have to get control of them because there's too many of them. And then you see Ruby shedding. So yeah. And then it's just this whole idea of shedding into a butterfly. Like I think that was very interesting, because we later see butterflies um, over floating over Ruby in the bed when she wakes up, and William's talking to her about this idea of shedding into a butterfly, and I just think that's interesting. Um, did you read into anything about like the whole idea of shedding into a butterfly or no?
I mean, obviously, that's what the that's just a pretty simple metaphor that's going on with the whole me being in another person's skin. But what I really want to talk about is the real idea behind this episode, which is, of
Hmm.
course, this whole notion between white and black people, not just the interracial relationship that was going on between Ruby and William, but also the fact that William introduces Ruby to magic. Remember, he's a mason, he's a wizard or whatever. So he when he leaves after they done with their one night stand or whatever, he leaves on the nightstand a stack of money and the potion to turn white. Now, what I thought was interesting is when they get back together, he was like, "Well, I left a stack of money. Why didn't you leave the money?" And basically, I guess the idea behind that was she was like, "Well, the only currency I needed was this white skin, because we
Yeah,
see that she does go into town as a white woman. People are way nice to her. She's able to go in restaurants and places that she would never get to go into. Not only that, but her money isn't good there in another way, in the best way. They just like, no, 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 keep that, man. Take that ice cream. Even so,
yeah,
she was
and
licking
I
ice
and
cream on the way out. Like, oh my god, thank you.
mm, exactly, exactly. And I want to talk more about that. Before we do, we see a scene with Atticus. He's with his father, and he comes to his father's apartment, and he asks him about Titus's pages, because remember, Letty knows that he let go of the uh what do you call it? The woman that they found in the cave. He let go of that woman, right, basically. So she thinks he let the woman go, like I guess just let her run away. We
Mhm.
find out in Montrose's apartment that with Atticus there that he didn't, well, we don't even find out then. Basically, he comes to him and he says, "What did you do with Titus's pages? We know you let the woman go. What did you do?" And basically, we find out that he basically destroyed the pages of Titus's pages, and Atticus lashes out, punches his father, is beating him almost to death. And Letty, in that rage, like he went downstairs to try to find pictures of the pages that Letty took, and he's enraged. They had to get the neighbors to take him off of his father. And you see Letty downstairs with a bat in her hand, because he's snapping on everybody, and she's just terrified of him. And I just think that's very interesting. I didn't want to overlook that because he's upset because we find out that he didn't just let her go. Montrose, we already know that Montrose killed her, but Letty, in her naivete or whatever, like she just thought he let her run away. But she didn't realize why Atticus was frustrated, because his father is so consumed with this idea of trying to protect him that he's killing people, and so she didn't know that, but he's frustrated because he's trying to like get his father to like be on the same page as him, but he's not. So I didn't want to like just gloss over the fight scene that they had, which really wasn't a fight scene. It was just like a Atticus beat up his father scene. Um, and so, like I said, and then it's what you were talking about, William, he gives Ruby the potion and the money, and she goes out and experiments being a white woman. I will say this: I totally did not overlook like how they had For Color Girls audio from Motivate Shange's For Color Girls play in the background. And as she's going out trying to explore the privileges of being a white woman, and how her life is easier. She's going to the ice cream shop. She doesn't need to pay money or anything. I thought that was very interesting to have this white woman walking around a neighborhood playing the audio from For Color Girls. And if you're not familiar, For Color Girls is a play that basically explores, and they made a movie about it. Tyler Perry made a movie about it. The different identities of being a black woman. Actually, I was in For Color Girls, the play in college. I played the lady in purple, but I know the play very well. And just talking about how you're trying to know yourself. Like, let her grow up and be free and know herself. And there's talking about for colored girls, but we're looking at a white woman. I thought that was very interesting and a strong contrast. We know that she is truly a black woman inside of this white vessel, but I thought that was interesting because it's for colored girls, and we're looking at this white woman go out and try to figure out who she is, and she's trying to get over the rainbow. She's trying to get over, like, and basically we see, I think that the writers did that and the team did that to just show how Ruby is trying to figure out who she is in this new vessel or whatever, but I didn't overlook that for colored girls audio was playing in the background. Next we see Atticus and Leti has made up. They have this hot love scene. I think that's what you thought happened last episode. Yeah.
Okay.
I really liked her lace bra. Let me start. Like her lace bra and like I like that whole like outfit. But I do realize like they are having a lot of love scenes and a lot of sex scenes in here, and a lot of nudity, like you brought up last episode. And to me, I'm like, well, I don't know. I guess, I mean, keep in mind, I said first episode, George and Hippolyta's love scene was everything. We needed that. And now, I don't know, like maybe because I'm not used to watching a show, I haven't seen a show in a long time that has so much sex scenes, and I'm just like, what's the point? All this sex scenes, all this nudity. I know you love it because, you want to see Leti and stuff, but
I liked it up to a point because, like I said, I liked it. Like I said, I understand that this is HBO, and I don't know if HBO Max means HBO Cinemax, because I remember Cinemax we used to call Skinamax. You feel me? Once I got cable, I was going crazy as a teenager. But yeah. So but it's HBO, it's cable, and I was joking around last video that we did. Y'all should go watch it and like it. But I was joking around that I guess HBO must have a contract. Like we must have this many sex scenes in each episode.
Right? Or just nudity, just like unnecessary nudity and sex scenes. Because I'm like, everybody's having sex. Like, why? I hope they just keep the young girl. I don't want to see her in no sex scenes, because it seems like everybody on this show is just in sex scenes. And nothing's wrong with it. Like, I love the sex scene a couple of episodes ago when they were in the bathroom. Actually, that's when Leti lost her virginity. I thought that was hot, but I guess they have an intention for everything. And this is a couple that, seems like they're building up a strong bond. So maybe the more we see them intimate, the more the audience can believe that they have like this strong bond, so maybe that's why.
I don't think it's nothing artistic going behind it. Because like I said, because when I looked at that scene, I understand why they had a sex scene there, but I hate to be that guy, but it's just like, why couldn't it be done just a little bit more tasteful? I would be honest with you.
When I thought the outfit was tasteful. I was like, ooh.
No, I like the outfit.
That outfit from? I'm like, Victoria's Secrets. Let me start looking up and see where I want that. But let me start okay, go ahead.
I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm gonna be honest without jokes, because like I said, I already talked about Journey Smollett and how she was looking in that scene. But I will give it to you. She has a very amazing body, and I know it may sound like a joke, but I thought it was sort of like art, because she does have a nice slender body. I like what she was wearing, and if they would have just
Atticus,
I'm not gonna comment on his body, but
you like it was what it was.
Nice. Right, I don't know. You know what I'm saying? Women may like it. Who knows? Who cares? But anyway, but what I will say is, if they went from that, because like I thought that was very beautiful. I like the mise en scène of that scene. I just like what I was looking at, so I'm just like, okay. I just remember liking, and then they go into a very pornographic scene. Like I'm talking about strokes. I'm just like, this is long.
Is that what happened?
Yeah, they go to a scene where you can see, I don't want to be too graphic with it, but basically Letitia is riding Atticus.
Yeah. I guess,
and
I don't know. I guess
I do understand in acting, when you get in, usually, to my knowledge, those scenes, I remember 50 Cent saying this when he was in a love scene with some woman, that he had a sock on his genitals. They were both completely naked for the scene, but he did have a sock on his thing. You understand? So I'm looking at this thing. I'm like, this look like he might be penetrating this woman straight up. I don't know how you got this dang angle, but these
now
are
I gotta go rewatch, because I don't remember all that. Like,
yeah, go study that. I've studied it a few times just to make sure that I But no. Honestly, after that, because I say if this was just if it wasn't that long, I could see why they knew. But it's just like it was like a porno right there. So I'm just like,
Mm.
that almost made me uncomfortable, even though it was heterosex. But then stuff after this made me very uncomfortable.
We'll get to that. You know what's interesting, since we're just talking about the scenes? I don't know why I was more entertained by the older love scenes than some.
It
But
was
I
just
was,
better done, tastefully done. Like
yeah,
they didn't
it
have
was.
to show people. They didn't really show anybody naked in that scene. They just
They
showed
didn't.
sex,
It was the
which
chemistry.
yeah, it's just like
It,
that is more what I mean, like artfully done. That scene necessarily, in my opinion, was not tastefully or artfully done. It was just sex. You could
yeah.
just say, oh, maybe they can't, maybe they had good bodies together, and that's what they were trying to show. But
Same thing when they were in the bathroom. Now that was rough, aggressive sex, but for some reason, for me, I thought that was nice because they built up to this thing of Letty being like vulnerable and him being vulnerable, and then both wanting each other but not knowing how to do it, and then he just went in there, and I love that. I love
yeah,
that. But this, I was
yeah,
just like, I don't know if I just kind of spaced out or what, because I just was thinking like, okay, yeah, it's a sex scene, but but I don't know,
but
like
yeah,
I do like seeing them bond as a couple though, because they've been through some stuff, especially Atticus, you can tell, and so I love that they are finding love together, but they do have this intense, like, hot love scene, and all I was thinking was, wow, I wonder if I get that outfit, like, I was just like, but anyway, yeah, so that was next, and then after that, William gives Ruby a potion. Oh, wait, no, we already talked about that. So William tells Ruby, so she's soaking in the bath after a long day of being a white woman and, enjoying the luxuries of being a white woman. And she's in this nice bubble bath. Um, and I get a little distracted because sometimes I'm watching these TV shows, I'm like, wow, I would love that, like in my home. And I'm looking at the tub and everything. But anyway, she's having this great bubble bath, and this is when William corners her, the true intent as to why he really, you know, came up to her in the bar that day in the last episode. He gives her another potion, and well, he tells her he's going to need a favor from her. She decides, so he tells her she's gonna need a favor from her. He was like, what? She was like, basically, wow, like, yeah, I knew it was gonna be something, like, why'd you pick me out of all the black girls on
she
the
said
south
something
side?
very interesting, without which I would just want to point out real quick. She said, um, dang, was it that scene or was it later where she said something about the devil? Something about the devil going to always tell you who what the deal is. I think that was later in the scenes, but she does refer to this white man as the devil. Go ahead.
Yeah, it might have been there because she said a lot of things to basically diss him as a white man, diss him as a man, and his intentions for her as a black woman, and and she was basically almost like waiting for it, like she knew it was something. It was something, and so she decides to take that potion and apply for her dream job. I was surprised that she decided to apply for her dream job at Macy's as a white woman,
We're
but
at
I guess
Marshall
she would.
Fields.
Marshall Fields. It's Macy's. Oh, they merged together, right? So was Marshall Fields then?
I
Marshall
don't know.
Fields was Macy's.
It could be. I mean, they might have merged later.
Yeah, but then Marshall Fields back then. We'll just say Marshall Fields. But in Chicago, it's like all the same thing. But anyway, Macy's, she decides to take the potion and apply for her dream job at Macy's, and of course she gets it. You know what's very interesting though? She was overqualified. Overqualified. Did you hear him say, wow, you have all this experience? I'm worried about you taking my job. And to think she had
And
all that
started her
experience
off as an assistant manager.
all because of that white skin.
If she came in the door and if they even decided to hire her as a black woman, she'd just be doing the same thing that the other black woman was doing, with just
Mm-hmm.
helping customers. But
And we're
based
going
on
to talk
her,
about that. Go
yeah,
ahead. Based on her
based on
what?
her credentials, based on her actual credentials that she have, if everything was fair, or if she was a white woman, she would come in the door and be an assistant manager. You know what I'm saying? So that is
Mm-hmm.
interesting.
And that's interesting that she can't even get a job as a black woman. Like she couldn't even get an interview with her resume. You mean to tell me she said she's been applying for the last like what, 10 years, something like that, or a long time she was applying. She told her sister that. Cause she was like in another previous episode, she was like, you think it's that easy? I've been applying for years. She couldn't even get an interview with her black skin. She comes in there with her white skin and she has a assistant manager position or something. I'm like, are you serious?
And
But I'm
also,
glad that they showed that.
I want to point out too that I don't know if it was in this episode or before. It might have been in this one where she goes to Marshall Fields And she's just looking around, and the black woman who was recently hired, she helps her out, like, oh, can I help you with anything? And she was like, obviously Ruby, that this being her dream job and her probably going there often, she, as asking the right questions, like, oh, are you working here? Yeah, well, she didn't say she just got hired. She was like, well, you must be new. Like, I'm being here every day. I never seen you, and I never seen another black person working here. She was like, yeah, I
I don't
actually
like
got
how
hired.
uncomfortable she is though in front of it. Just shows the dynamic of how instead of now we as a people we love each other, we know that as a black people, but sometimes you get these like crab in a barrel mentality, like, and it's not just in our culture, it's in a lot of cultures, but for Ruby to be so uncomfortable with this other black woman instead of greeting this sister, saying, hey, hey sis, where you stay at? You on the south side too? Oh, I know about that street. You got this job, girl. Tell me your stuff. Ruby was, instead of being like that, she was so standoffish and so like consumed with like jealousy and offensiveness. Like she was so offended that this other person got the job that she couldn't even like be like loving towards her when she even asked her when she came into the store and saw that she was working there. But
Mm.
continue.
Yeah, and that's interesting as well because I kind of felt that too. I felt like, in my opinion, I thought Ruby would be more, like you said, a little opening and accepting, like, oh, okay, they do hire black people, but I got the feeling that she was more so in the mindset of, dang, it was more of a competition. If they hired you, then dang, why would they hire me? You know what I'm saying? Type stuff.
Mm.
And it was also interesting.
I was gonna say, keep that thought. I was gonna say also when I think this song was playing when she entered the job, but Cardi B's "Get Money" or "Money" song was playing. So another Cardi B song was playing. I'm like, they got a contract with Cardi B. Cardi B, they keep doing Cardi B songs, and I'm like,
Well, actually, I believe this is the first episode that you hear Cardi B songs, but there were two songs in this thing. There were two
yeah,
Cardi B
I got
songs in it.
another song later. Yeah, we're gonna talk about "Red Bottoms" was played later.
Right.
It was some bottom was getting something, but like yeah, red bottoms was played later, and I noticed that too. And so I thought Cardi B was played last week. Oh, you know who I'm confusing that with? I think
Rihanna.
Rihanna.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Because they
similar
both say bitch in the
energies.
song. Bitch better, B better
Yeah.
have my money. And whatever, Cardi B says the B word all the time. But yeah,
Yeah, so I just thought that was interesting that they're continuing to do modern music in this show.
they
Uh
say you remember they started this from episode one. I don't think you had any
yeah,
comments about that episode one, but it's
maybe
because you
not.
like the music. It's because I
Yeah.
think you thought the music was appropriate. I did also. Well, I'll say this. When I heard that the money, all I want to do is the money. I'm trying to figure out which that was after she got hired as a white woman.
Yeah, I think that's when she was headed to get the job or something like that. Like the
Are you
money
still
song.
sure? Okay,
No,
okay, because okay, so I just,
I'm not for sure though.
that's one of those things where I just felt like of all the songs you could use, I didn't think it was a bad choice. It was talking about
Hmm.
money. You're in a very expensive place, so maybe it's making that point. But another song, I'm just like, Misha Green, stop using songs off your playlist. Just use the right song for the
Nah.
scene. We know you like Cardi B. We know you like Rihanna. Like, but it just takes you out of the scene. It's just like if you're not
yeah.
using the right music, it's gonna take you out of the scene. And that's why I'm saying, like, I hate to say this, but this is black girl magic all over this TV show, and not the good kind. It's
Look,
just like,
I'm here for all black girl magic. I just felt like, and keep in mind, not only black people listen to Cardi B, and of course
I
everybody
know.
listens to Rihanna. But I feel like, and I'm okay with it being black girl magic because this is supposed to be a black centered cast. So I'm okay with that. It's just these songs, like I don't know, like, and I like these songs. Like these songs are catchy. I like these songs. Get Money by Money by Cardi B, and like I'm totally okay with that. It's just I wasn't expecting that because we're supposed to be in the 1950s, and I'm sure there were songs back then, that could really capture the energy of what's going on in these things. But to bring another perspective, like I said, we were talking about last week, maybe it's just bringing those audiences together, creating that relatability factor, because things that are happening that happened back then are happening today, and this music is current and certain issues are current, so maybe that's the reason why they have this music in here to kind of like bring in the younger audience, and also let us know as an audience, like, look, this music is current because some of these issues are current. We're in the 1950s in the storyline, but in reality, it's a lot of stuff that we deal with currently that's happening,
I'm gonna
other
say
than
this
the
real quick.
natural, supernatural
You know what that
elements.
reminds me of? I can't remember what's that show about the dude. I can't remember, but me and my queen watched. the pilot episode of it, but it's a show about a man who's a black man that show he basically becoming conscious. I think it's called Woke.
Oh, I heard something about woke.
There's a
I don't
show
know.
I think it's called Woke. And
Oh, with like Farrell or something like that. He's a comedian.
yeah, right,
Oh
yeah,
yeah, I think actually T Murph, who's a comedian from Chicago, shout out to Chicago Talent. I think he's in that show too.
interesting.
But I didn't get a chance to watch it yet, so.
The first episode is basically how the dude gets woke, and it's funny because he starts off in the TV series a black man who's not really concerned about race. He created this cartoon which is not about race at all. I think it's like a toast and something else, like breakfast. He was like, and I'm created just to be as simple as possible. It has no hidden meaning. And then a black woman comes up on him in a comic story. He's like, I like the way how you did that. And then when the toast gets burnt and scraped off, it is representative of how the black people. He was like, that's a new one. I never heard that one before. So
Mm.
yeah, that's what I'm gonna have to say to you as far as just maybe they making the music to juxtapose between what's going on now and what's going on.
Look,
I
the
think
anarchist, you know me and you are artists, and you know me, like I'm always thinking about things in different ways, and I'm like, well, maybe it's this way, maybe it's that way, and it's good to bring counter perspectives. I could be
no,
completely
no,
wrong.
I'm not.
I'm the reacher. I can reach and be like, oh, it means this, it means that. Maybe it's aliens because we aliens, and so like I don't know, but
No, no, I'm not
I
listening.
like to bring, huh?
I'm not
Go ahead.
knocking that perspective. I absolutely love that because that's how you're supposed to be, especially when you're decoding films, not just reviewing, but we are decoders. We decode a film. So you want to think outside of the box. Why is it? But at the same time, you don't want to encode a film, meaning you give it your own perspective. I think they did it because of this. Decoding is what you take in from what the actual writers and filmmakers put into the film. Now, you can encode. You can say, well, this is how I feel, or this is what I take from this scene. And that's okay because you'll hear a lot of writers and filmmakers say that's what I want. I wrote it for open interpretation. But
Mm.
heavy encoding could just be, oh, they did it. The reason why I'm just saying it on that particular point is because they really didn't even need modern music for us to know that this was juxtaposed for what's going on today.
Nope.
So I don't see them making that decision like, oh, it's because of this. No, it's basically because they just want it. Like I said, on the surface level, Cardi B lovers gonna be like, what are we gonna do with the money? They just gonna like it and they're gonna keep watching. But on another level, it fits with maybe what's going on as far as money. And on another level, this is a song that's on Misha Green's playlist. Cause
Ah,
you could have,
stop.
you know what I'm saying? You could have did she had the budget, especially if you got that song, you could have did money, 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 even though that was a little later in the 60s, but you could have did songs that even if it, like I said, I don't have a problem with taking music from now because Quentin Tarantino did it in Django. Nobody really was mad about that. Maybe some people. Jordan Peele does it in his movies all the time, whether the songs be older or newer. So that's been done. But when it's done right, nobody has a problem. When it's kind of like off-putting and it doesn't really seem like maybe this song fits or because like I said, when you think of Cardi B, that's just going to take you out of 1950. I'm thinking of Cardi B now. So if you're going to do it now, at least just make the song so perfect that it doesn't take people out of the time period at least.
Hmm.
I just think it was, and I'm not being derogatory when I say black girl magic, but it's just sort of like
I know.
it's just like I know I can see these tropes of this is supposed to be for black female empowerment, which I do not have a problem in TV shows or movies, but it's almost like if you overdo it, it gives you the eye roll. But if you
I
do it right,
agree.
it's like
I
I
agree.
understand what's going on because she has done it right in this film. I talked about when in episode 1 when she made Letitia the leader and she was just Letitia basically took the wheel, literally took the wheel,
Yes.
and I was like that was a good way to show black women's strength. But putting on Cardi B and some of the stuff that she did in this particular episode, I didn't feel that way. But go ahead, please.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you for breaking that down. Yeah. No, I totally understand your perspective on it. I totally understand because sometimes, like, like I said with other episodes, like some music, I'm like, huh? Like, what? So I totally understand, especially when I'm so committed to the story. I don't want to be taken out and think of certain like artists and stuff like that. But I will say, and I think the anarchists can agree with me, we love the cover song that they had chosen for this Nina Simone Cinnamon. That's so great and so
Cinnamon,
powerful.
where you gonna
Where you
run
gonna run
to?
to, Cinnamon?
Yeah,
I
that's
just
my
love
junk.
that. Kudos to y'all. It's in my head forever now, and I think it really applies to the story, and then just to a lot of people's lives. Like people running, and they don't always have someplace to run to. They don't always have help, and then they turn to the devil because the devil is the only and not literally the devil, but like the world is out to get us sometimes, oftentimes, and not everyone has refuge. And so I think that's perfect for this TV series, this show. And to get back on topic, side note, no, to get back on topic, let's see. So after that happens and she gets hired, we see that Montrose visits Sammy at his place. Does Montrose visit Sammy or does Sammy visit? Montrose visits Sammy at his place after he's been beaten up by his son. I guess he's really upset. And then they have a sex scene. I was not expecting that. Did they already have a sex scene? No, this is the first sex scene I think they've had, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Now I understand why that guy in the museum was like saying like, "Oh, are you concerned about your dad with Sammy?" Because Sammy's the same guy that was getting oral from some young man like in episode 1. And when he did that long glob of spit, it didn't even look like spit. It looked like cheese spit, and
I
like
don't know
I
what
was
you're talking
like,
about.
I was not expecting that. I wasn't expecting it because his father's so angry and upset, and I didn't know his father was I didn't know his father was in the closet or if he's in the closet. Well, I guess he is because he was married to Atticus's mother. But that whole spit scene, outside of the sex scene, like it's not the first time like I've seen that in the show. I just didn't think it was going to be in this show. I didn't know his father was going to be gay. I don't know. In the book, he wasn't gay, so I don't know. I guess they're taking creative licenses and stuff. But that glob, I don't like seeing people spit. That's a big pet peeve of mine. That is a huge pet peeve. Like growing up, I used to hate that. I used to hate seeing people spit out in the street, and so seeing a big glob that looks like snot or cheese, I'm like, oh, I didn't want to see that. Just if y'all gonna have sex, just have sex. Don't be showing me no spit. What did you think of this whole sex scene? Were you surprised at all? I know I was to find out the reveal that Atticus's father Montrose is gay and he's with Sammy from the bar guy.
I didn't watch it. I didn't. I skipped past that entire scene, so I don't know what you're talking about. I don't know what happened. As soon as I seen two men start kissing on each other and unbuckling their pants, I'm like, no, 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 no. Like I ain't about to watch this. I ain't about to watch this stuff. You feel me? And listen, I'm gonna have to just say what I have to say here because I'm not about to just sit up here. Yes, the gay sex scene was. I just thought it was interesting because no, I'm not about to watch a man penetrate another man. What's wrong with you? This is my problem. This is my problem with this stuff, man. We go too overboard with this social justice warrior stuff. I'm a heterosexual. My thing. This is why I'm angry. I'm not angry because of gay people. Gay people know I mess with y'all. You know what I'm saying? I mess with y'all. We cool. We don't have no problems. What I do have a problem with is what if I try to crowbar a black story in a gay movie? You got this story about two gay lovers, and they just gay, and I'm just like, hey, what about black people in this movie? What about black on black? What about black people? What about us? This movie ain't for that. So not to say that there aren't movies that touch on all things, but this is supposed to be a show about black people in the past, metaphysics, magic, and all this other stuff. I do understand that there were gay people around at that time. That's what we talked about. We talked about episode 1. I'm like, and I told you, I didn't necessarily have a problem with showing that. I think if you were going to include that, make it subtle because at the time, nobody really talked about that. So unless this is a movie about gay black men in the 1950s, why go that route? And this whole episode is, I feel like, wasted a lot of time doing that. And I don't know how it ties into the story, but I'm going to let you know right now, I was very uncomfortable watching this stuff. Not just if, like I said, and this is why I had a problem with this scene, just like I have a problem with the Letitia and Atticus sex scene. It's too much. It's too much. If you
Yeah.
just put it in a gay scene where I didn't have to, just wasn't so vulgar and nasty, maybe I would have just sat there. No, I'm lying. I wouldn't watch that stuff. Because like I said, I know how programming works, and I don't even want to be programmed with these images in my head. I know how it works. Misha Green, maybe she doesn't. Maybe she really doesn't know how subconscious stuff works. But this is how the thing about people turning gay or young kids turning gay. I just did a podcast that I talked about. They have this real sick thing where they talk about drag kids and drag, kids being drag queens, which is disgusting. So my podcast, or it was, I think it was in a live that I did on Sunday on my channel, the Anarkist. But the little boy named himself something. He named himself a girl's name. He's participating in these drag contests. He's 10 years old, a little white boy. He said the reason why I'm doing this is because growing up, I used to watch RuPaul. And when I watched RuPaul, and also he talked about how his mama condoned it. My mom used to let me just wear dresses, and now I'm doing this now. So stop with the BS talking about some we don't get programmed with this stuff. Obviously, it's a little bit harder for me. I'm an adult male, but you know, if kids not supposed to be watching this stuff, but if they do see it, what are they gonna say? And you're like, well, Anarkist, what if they was gay? What if they wasn't gay then? You know what I'm saying? So my thing is,
Hmm.
you know, you really have. That's why I'm saying we have a lot of power as filmmakers and people who put out these stories. So I understand her intention might just be, oh, like I said, she may have a LGB base or she may be sympathetic to LGB, which is okay, but if you're going to add them, do it right. I personally didn't want to see this, and I would say this: if you were trying to make something that includes everybody, you really alienated your heterosexual male audience, probably black and white. Because I don't want to see that, and it's not because I hate anybody. I'm not about to sit up here and watch TV where a man puts his penis in another man.
Well,
Why do you think I want to see that?
and,
I barely
and you,
wanted to see Atticus and Leti. I'm like, that's a little too much for me. I don't want to see this. Do you think somebody like me is going to keep watching this show after that? No, I'm going to be like, clearly all this Cardi B stuff is for black women or gay men because all this gay stuff in there. And they spent the whole scene. That was at a drag party where Montrose just comes out, me now. I'm like, what does this have to do with anything that I was just watching? And
yeah,
now I do understand that, and I'll say that with this last thing. I do understand that Montrose's character is just so evil and mean because he's sexually suppressed. He's a gay man, so he basically took that out on his son, his family, and the world. But none of this really made any sense to me. But please,
yeah. Thank you for thank you for that, the anarchist. Yeah, like I said, the part that I was just like, wait, how does this add to the story? And then knowing that he was not gay in the story in the actual book at all, and of course I take in creative licenses. I'm like, well, how does this right here add to the narrative of Atticus? Like, how does this serve Atticus? Because right now, Montrose does seem like a mean character, and truly no one's mean. They're just dealing with their own frustrations as a character, as a human. But I'm just like, how does this even add to Montrose's story? Because it just kind of feels like they're blaming his frustrations on him being sexually suppressed. Because when George was still alive, Uncle George, he said that he used to get beat as a kid, as a boy. And so I don't know, like I said, it's fine if they want to put representation in their LGBT. I just feel like this was unnecessary scenes. Like I said, it's been a lot of sex scenes. This is another sex scene that I felt like took away from what the characters could be doing. And I felt like I don't know, like to straight men, I felt like it kind of gives the idea of like, well, if your dad is sexually suppressed, I mean, if your dad is frustrated and beating you, then maybe, he has other things going on, and I don't know, like I just kind of felt like it was a wrong message. Like I said, if he was going to be gay, fine. But I just feel like this whole scene where him like dealing with Sammy, it just kind of felt like it was like pushed. It felt like it was pushed. It felt like we spent too much time on this sex scene when we could have been learning more about the story. And I don't know how it's going to serve the story. And like I said, I've heard a lot of different people talk about their perspective, and a lot of people feel like that scene kind of like took away from the story. And like it's okay to have like representation. Clearly, representation matters, and there were gay men back then, but to knowing that Montrose wasn't gay in the book and there's no indication that he was, to make him this aggressive father who's also gay, I just, I can understand how you're saying like it could alienate like the straight black males, or just not even just black males, but the straight males watching this show, because it's like, wait, what, but also, like I said, everything could have a reason and intention. But I was confused too. Um, and oh, right here, Tori Hudson says, "What's up, homie? Much love from Florida."
peace,
Um,
Tori.
yeah, so I was taken back, like I said, and like I said, if they were just gonna have regular sex like I said, it's okay to be. Of course, it's okay. We both have no animosity or anything against like the LGBT. We support people doing like what they want to do. It's not that, but and we have to say that. I don't know, like it shouldn't be that way. It should just be understood that it's no hate. But we're just saying that in this particular scene, it's just like, wait, what? Just like the other scene, like why is all this sex scenes happening when we're trying to get to the story? It seems like a lot of people, and keep in mind, and I don't want to blame anybody, because Misha Green is one of the writers is the writer for this and helped create this, but it's a lot of hands in play and a lot of people that want to be represented in stories, but I think there's a better way. He could have just said that he was, he could have just we could have had a scene where his father just said like, look, this is what it is, this is who I am. But all these extra sex scenes, I feel like it's too much unnecessary sex scenes going on. And I agree with you in saying that I don't see how that drives the story forward. um
But I
but
would
we
say
do.
this too. I
Hmm.
would say that real quick, and I'll let you say what you're about to say, Almedia. But my thing is this. Um, it's just even if you're going to put it in here, because I don't know, maybe it does further the story. I just think what we've been watching up to this point, the only thing that has hinted towards gay is, of course, the bar owner and the fact that in episode 4, one of the guys was telling Atticus, "Hey, I think your dad might be funny style or whatever." So he started looking at it like that. Like, I'm like, okay. In my mind, you just trying to just acknowledge the element that there were gay black people then, which
Yeah,
I'm
and
not
that's
in any
fine.
way mad at. But my thing is, why do these sex scenes, and not just the gay one, but even some of the heterosexual sex scenes, why are they so grotesque? That's what I want to
Hmm.
know. Because I don't like that. I really don't like that. If you're going to make something, this is made for TV. Because this is the point I want to make. For people who have a problem with what I said about me not even watching this scene and not even wanting it to be in the movie, my thing
Yeah.
is, in the TV show, my thing is, I do not watch gay porn. And I'm not one of those people who subscribe to just, oh, it's just sex. Oh, if you're gonna watch a heterosexual sex scene, why don't you want to watch a what is it? Homosexual sex scene? Because I don't. That's the that is the answer. I'm sorry for cussing, but that is the answer. I don't want to watch that stuff. I don't. It's gross to me. Do what you want to do, but I'm not about to sit here and watch it and feel progressive like, oh, I gotta watch this because if I don't, I seem. No, I don't care about that. No, because I don't want to see that stuff. I don't want that in my mind. I don't think about that, and I don't want it in my mind. And I'm not one of these people that subscribe to it's just sex or everything is just gay or straight is no real sexual identity is no real. No, it is sexual identity. I only like sex with women. If you are a man who has sex with more than women, you are a bisexual man, or you are a gay man, or maybe something trans, or maybe just something else. Maybe you want to identify as a turtle that day. I don't care. But my thing is, like I said, I'm not trying to see that, and that's why I can kind of I look at that's why people like me look at those things as like what narrative is being pushed, what agenda. Because first of all, this is new for TV, and on the other side, you have people like, well, this is like innovative, like when black people first got on TV. Now we having gay things on TV, and I'm like, no, it's not. Just put it in your own TV shows, put it in your own movies. You don't need it in black TV show. You don't need it in stuff that don't include that. You know what I'm saying? So it's just like no, people just trying to do this whole what they call it, the whole intersexual or
Sectionality,
no, yeah,
intersectionality stuff.
intersectionality. Yeah, cut this intersectionality BS stuff out because I understand it in some aspects where it's just like get together and fight for causes, but no, I don't want to see gay stuff in a movie that was presented for black people. I'm not black and gay. Maybe you can make some for somebody who's black and gay. You know what I'm saying? And if you want to add it in there, do it to where I can watch it and don't have to be grossed out. Because that's what I was. Didn't watch that scene. And I hate that because I'm just like, I want to see the whole movie, but I'm just like, none of this even, I don't even think this really, I would even have to watch it. Like I said, you're talking about some spit and some cheese stuff. What does that have to do with anything? You know what I'm saying?
No, like, no, that's what grossed me out. Like, so we find out that he's gay, okay, and then he puts like he spits. You know how it is, like, well, you don't know how it is, but what I'm saying it's like, he spits in his
Oh,
hands
no.
to
Okay.
like
All right.
provide.
Okay. Thank you. Okay.
Okay, okay, I apologize, but it was just like it didn't look like regular spit. It looked like a glob of cheese, like melted cheese or like spit, but it was so thick, and I'm like, ew, like that right there. But we see more of this going on because we see another sex scene that's like
Ty said
vulgar and stuff.
they're the ones who speak the truth, curse. Oh, the ones who speak the truth curse a lot. Facts. But anyway, go ahead. But we still looking at. We might get some sponsorships, so that we don't know what might happen. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly. Speaking
But
of
yeah.
sponsorships, make sure that you check out MP, my personal detail at mpdetail.com if you would like your car detailed. They are a mobile detail company. They are currently located in Chicago, but will be in other locations as well. Visit mpdetail.com to get your car detailed, to restore life to your vehicle. They recondition your car. Also visit my personal detail on Instagram at my personal detail, and you'll be able to check out the work that they're doing. Mimi Renee also says he was using lube. He was using it as lube. That's what I was trying to like not say that for the anarchist. But yeah, he
In the
was
words
using it
of,
as
hold on,
lube.
y'all know what Huey used to say. Y'all.
Ah, yeah. And so that's what he was doing. He was using this big slob blob spit bubble thingy as lube, but it looked like cheese. Like, okay.
Hold on.
And so, but that's not, it gets heavy when she keeps shedding her skin too. Like when Ruby, it's a lot of stuff that goes on, and it's just like, to me, I'm just like, oh, I gotta keep watching this blood, skin, horror shed. It's a lot of things where I'm like, but
I mean, I
I
want to
just didn't
touch on
think it
that
was.
too. I want to touch on that too because I thought that's what I was going to say earlier if I didn't mention it. But yeah, when we seen the scenes with Ruby and how she was shedding the skin, I thought it was interesting at first because we know what was going on. But the fact that they did that every single time she
I feel
shed
like it
skin, that
was
was a good five
programming.
minutes. That was like
Yes,
5 minutes, and that's what I
I
mean when
was
I
like,
say.
how often do we have to see this Val like? Oh, I was like,
And I think
because
what they were
norm.
doing
Go
I think
ahead.
what they were doing is when you think about it, it's still a scary TV show. It's supposed to be a horror genre. So that's the horror aspect, but they just did it so much. It stopped being scary. It was, lingered into gross, and it's just like that they just spent so much time on it. That's my whole point about them having a big budget and wasting it on just doing this stuff. 5 minutes at looking at this instead of putting more story in here or more facts, more
Hmm.
Black history facts. You want to spend 5 to 10 whole minutes of this girl just and just what I'm saying. There's all special
Yeah,
effects and money, so it's just like, all right, I'm grossed out now. It's just like get to the next point.
yeah, and maybe they wanted to highlight the transformation, but I'm just like, why do we need to keep seeing this? Like, good thing
Maybe
I
they want to
wasn't
highlight the
eating.
transformation.
Mm.
She was
Yeah.
transforming, so technically she was transracial. Shout out to Rachel Dolezal. But yeah,
Is that a thing, transracial?
it was when Rachel Dolezal came out, and I think I seen another transracial story as well.
What's
So
Rachel Dola? Oh, that's a person, right?
Rachel Dolezal,
Oh, yeah. Oh, I know now. Okay.
for those who don't know, Rachel Dolezal was the woman who was passing, or actually a white woman who was pretending to be black. And when she was caught, she just basically doubled down and said, "Well, I identify as black, just like a man can identify as woman. I'm a white woman identifying as a black woman." So
Yeah, I
actually,
remember
I
now.
didn't think about
But it
that
was
until you
more
just
than one
said,
woman that did that. So that's why I was like, huh? What is this again?
yeah, it was a
You
couple.
know,
Yeah. It was
and
one recently,
so
one Jewish woman that came out, and she was also I don't know why it is these women who try to pass themselves off as black, they all work at black colleges. Or she worked, I think she worked at either a college or a historically black college. But here this is white woman pretending like she's black, the recent one, and I think Rachel Dolezal passing herself off as black, and I think she taught African American studies. So with this, were all these idiots like all right, who do I want to throw under the bus right now? Because all right, I ain't gonna say no names, but there's a lot of these coming from college pro black people out who I mostly don't like. When y'all come from college and y'all on this pro black stuff, because I sat in the class when I was being taught by what I thought was a black woman, but was really a white woman, and she teaching all this other stuff. I really don't like that. I don't like how y'all get into the study of black history, because it's always from this fake faux college perspective. Like y'all know everything, y'all don't. Y'all really don't know nothing. All these books
mm.
that these white people gave y'all to study about black people, but please.
All right. Thank you for that, the anarchist. We continuing on. The next big scene that we see is Ruby as
Oh, like I got a
Davenport
name.
reaches out.
What's that chick name? Damn, she be on the Breakfast Club all the time.
we're not gonna name drop any people on here outside of the people that are in the show, in this TV show.
We're not gonna do that
But
today.
yeah,
But
I
anyway, so yes, Anarkist, we're not gonna slander anyone, so I don't know who you're talking about. But anyway, the next thing. Thanks for keeping
Ruby,
me on
we
point.
see
See, that's what a queen is supposed to do. See, she tried to keep me from always gonna be looking for me.
we
Like, what you say about And I thought of her name too, but go ahead.
I know what her name is. Ruby, as Mrs. Davenport, we see her. You know what's very interesting? We see her, even though she's white on the outside, she's black on the inside, which is interesting because you're talking about people pretending to be other people. We see her being so cruel to that black sister, just
Mm.
cruel. She was really being a white supremacist, and or being racist, and
Are you
when
speaking
I
about
wrote down
Ruby
is
when she was in her right skin? Talking about
yeah,
Ruby?
yeah, when she was the manager, when she was Miss Davenport, when she was the Davenport lady,
Mm.
being the manager. And so what I wrote down is her jealousy mirrors racism, so people probably just look at her as like being a regular white woman in that age and how they in that era and how they treated black women. But we know she's a black woman jealous of this other black sister, and that's why she's acting this way. But racism can mirror some jealousy. And so I thought that's interesting that her jealousy mirrored racism in this episode for that sister. She sees that the job she always dreamed of wasn't so great as she thought. Her boss is a predator, and there is so much racism happening behind the scenes. And then those women, the white ladies that work for Macy's, she saw they were downstairs in like a little closet area. Like they were downstairs in like the loading dock hanging out. Like that's supposed to be a dream job when y'all hanging out in the loading dock or something down there. Like it wasn't that fancy and glamorous is what she thought. And she had to see how this black sister was being treated. Uh she said, "Oh, Mimi Renee said we'll just have to wait for Sunday stream to drop the names. Yeah, just wait. Yep. Wait for Sunday stream. Remind him he will be name dropping people. Also, Sunday we'll be doing we'll be doing some episodes of some more reviews of Lovecraft Country. So stay tuned. So back to what I was saying. We see how they treated the black sister that was working there. And then just how the black sister was just trying to get by. It wasn't her fault that she got hired. She didn't have nearly as much experience as Ruby, but it wasn't her fault. All she was trying to do was make everybody okay, and make herself just get past the day. Every day you can see this sister, just innocent sister, and you just saw Ruby got to see how really she would have been treated if she was working there, not as a white woman. Um, she was basically torturing the sister. She was basically torturing the other black sister. I felt like that, like inviting her to go to the South Side and telling her she had to be 3 times as better and all this other mean stuff. She realizes that she would have not been happy there if she truly was herself there. Christina and William then get Ruby, like in the scene we find out that, not in that scene, but a later scene we find out that Christina and William get Ruby to hide something in Lancaster, the
Wait,
sheriff, the
hold up.
chief.
Before we get there, real quick, I want to comment on because I actually kind of have a different perspective. I didn't get that perspective. I seen it a little bit as far as the Ruby and the other black woman who was working at Marshall Fields, but what I thought of it, and like I said, we can have separate perspectives or just try to get to the truth. But
Yeah.
my take on it was that if it felt like because there were things that happened that kind of just ruled how I think she treated the black woman. I didn't think she was too mean to the black woman who was hired there, but there was a scene where she was talking to her kind of very condescending. But when the women downstairs but I think Ruby just seeing her as just another person, and obviously she was unqualified. So there was jealousy there, like you said, which is definitely a metaphor for racism. Because as we know, if you read the Dr. Frances Cress Welsing, she breaks a black psychologist, black woman. She breaks down the root of racism is jealousy. So it's in that
Oh,
book called
really?
the Ice. Yes,
That sounds about right.
it's in her book called the ISIS Thesis.
Oh, the ISIS
But
papers, yeah.
I'm sorry, yeah, the ISIS papers. So basically, but what I got from
Cress Welsing, right? I'm
yeah,
interrupting you, my
Frances
bad.
Cress
Okay.
Welsing. And so, but that was interesting. But when she was in the basement or the break room with the other women, and they brought up the black woman. They, that was interesting because white woman was saying, "Well, I didn't say the uncivilized word, and I just called her a Negro," and they were talking about how she was unqualified, which she was. And so when Ruby brought that up, she was like, "Yeah, it's probably because she didn't go to high or whatever she said." And they said, "Well, it's probably because she a Negro." And then she kind of got offended by that because she's just like, "Okay, that's how they feel," and that kind of shaped how she responded to the black woman afterwards, because she's like, no, do this right, we have to do stuff 10 times better. So it's almost like she was trying to give her a little bit of game, like, you don't know how these
Yeah.
women are critiquing you, so you can't just act
But
like
why? But
we.
why does it even matter? Because no matter how good you are, they're still going to critique you and think that you're less than, you know?
I agree
But
with you
I
that it
do
really
think she
doesn't
was,
matter.
yeah. But I do think I did see her critiquing her, but she was still so mean, like taking them to the South Side and like, she
Well,
didn't
no,
want
if
to
you
do
remember
that.
the South Side, yeah, the white women asked, it was their idea, correct?
Yeah, but then she didn't want to do it, basically.
Right.
And Ruby decided to tell them, yeah, we're going to go to the South Side. I mean, yeah, Ruby was like, yeah, let's take them to the South Side. She's looking like, oh, okay. Like, she didn't want to go. She didn't want to take these women. She didn't want to be out seen with these white folks in her neighborhood over there, like, that hate her. And to spend the night being taunted by people who don't like you. Like, me and you have probably been to like events where we're there just to show face, but we don't really want to be there. And it's people that we don't really rock with that are there. Like, I'm sure me and you have both been to events like that. And we've probably had, jobs where we've been to outings that we probably didn't really want to be at. And so you could just tell this sister, she really just kind of probably wanted the night to be over. And they would not have gone there if it wasn't for Ruby saying, yeah, well, let's do that. Let's take them out to the South Side, you know? Like, I just was like, hey, Ruby, why are you being mean to this sister? This could be you, you know?
Well,
Um,
then, I want to bring up too as well, because because you're about to get into how, which I do want to talk about, but just to relate it over to the scenes with Ruby as a white woman and the black woman that was working there, the only black woman that's working at Marshall Fields. After she goes through the scene, which we're going to talk about at the the lodge party or whatnot, she then has a different perspective on white people. Remember, the beginning of the episode, she gets to see the privilege that being white serves you, especially at that time. But then she kind of, in the film, or in the movie, in the TV show, she gets a glimpse in some of the perverse nature of some people in the white race, which I'm right now going to just target these people who are in Freemasons. A lot of white in my audience, there are white people who say, "Oh, my grandfather was a Freemason." So yeah, there are people in these different families, because I'm not saying all white people, but obviously the people who are connected to these lodges and whatnot, and just some sick people in their own right. But she was basically saying, she did a rant in the thing where she looked like she was going crazy, because she's like, yeah, these people, they crazy, they'll do things, they'll have people locked up, they'll do, what I'm saying? So she just looking like, she just like, basically that was her, I guess, in the TV show, going from, they're basically saying there are things that white people do that we don't have no idea about, some real sick stuff that at least that
hmm.
she witnessed. But we're going to talk about that. So yeah, and I want to bring it, to bring it over. Like I said, there was a jealousy in her, but I'm not sure if there was a hate in her. I just think Ruby, I mean, first of all, Ruby is the type of black woman that would have sex with a white man, especially at that time. So it's just like, and I thought it was very weird because so in the scene where the favor that William has asked Ruby is basically to be a maid, be some sort of maid in a party, in a lodge party that the police were having, so she could go plant something there, right? Am I not mistaken? Go
Hmm.
plant something there. So what I thought was weird was when she realized, okay, I got to do this because this is the reason why you've been giving me this potion, so I could have this magic and this access. But when she was the scene between Ruby and Christina, where Christina is like, he needs you to do this. He needs you to go into the police officer's office and put this there. And she was like, basically, she tried to bribe her with, well, do you like being a white woman? And to me, that was Ruby's biggest motivation, because he's just like, well, yeah, I like that privilege. But then she asked her, well, do you care about William? And I'm thinking, like, you've known this dude for what, 2-3 days? Y'all had a one night stand and maybe had sex again. Where in this whole thing was their love? Like, I'm thinking, like, okay, maybe it makes sense for her to just want the potion, but they made it seem like in a TV show she actually did have some sort of love for William,
Yeah.
which we find out later on is not
Real.
even really William. It's this white woman. So it's just like,
Yeah.
that's weird, because really you had love for this white woman. You didn't have love for anything that was really this man. Because first of all, Y'all didn't talk about anything to really. Oh, really, what happened in those scenes was. And is this really what they were trying to say? I'm trying to, because it's just like the white, they didn't really get intimate to me. They did have sex, but she'd start explaining to this man about, oh, white skin, and if I had white skin and this, and he's just being real like Prince Charming. Oh, I'm going to make it all better. Oh, they didn't really share like a connection to me. So for
Yeah, and
Chris,
like, and I think it was trying. I felt like it was kind of forced to make it seem like they, had like a deeper connection. Because when she said that too, she was like, "Well, do you care about William?" And I was thinking, no. I
that's
mean, I don't
exactly
know.
what I was
I
thinking.
I
Like
was
from
like,
just
he
from
just gave
watching, I'm
me
like,
some
how could you?
potions. He
That's
just
what I'm
gave me
saying.
some potions, and
And y'all known each other for literally days. This was the same man
yeah.
who did the whole thing talking about some you was his crazy wife. So you went got over that. This man took a knife to you, I guess to figure to show you how to get out of the body. Got over that. Where was the scenes where you were supposed to be falling in love with this man? Was it just the D? You know what I'm
That's what I was
saying?
thinking.
So
That's why I literally thought I was like, what would make her do that? I'm like, are they trying to make it seem like the sex was that good? Maybe they put a spell on her to make her think the sex was good, like, but like, was the sex that good to where you now caught feelings after 3 days? But it's 3 days in magic. So you know how like the idea of magic love is kind of like a chemical that you experience, and it's kind of like magic. It's kind of like euphoric. It makes you feel like everything is like, oh, happy. Maybe she felt like that with taking the potion and having sex with this guy, a guy who's really a girl who's really Christina. Like maybe they put something on her when they consumed her blood to make her feel connected to them or to her or whoever. And so, because I'm like, it's only like you said, it's only been 3 days. Like, you don't know this man. You've probably been in relationships way longer than that. But maybe it's the fact that they're introducing her to this new world and she's not ready to let go. And just like a drug addict, she is addicted to the heroin of magic and this guy feeling like he cares about her that we find out later is Christina. But before we, I want to just go back for a second to this party or this get together, this police get together thing. And we see that she has her plant, some type of rock thing with a symbol on it. Maybe it's like a spell or something. I don't know. It's a rock. Maybe it's something that has a spell in it. I don't know. In Lancaster's office to seek revenge against harms done to William. Christina tells her like, yo, he did something to William, who is the rightful heir to the lodge. So William is supposed to be the rightful heir to what her father has or whatever. Like or is there different lodges? Is he just the
oh no, it's
rightful
all the
heir?
same. Well,
So
I mean, that makes sense in the story. Like this, the only real time. Like I feel like they actually going back to the original story, but this kind of makes sense. I don't know how William and Christina are related, but they look like brother and sister.
yeah,
Or
but she said they were like friends,
they're like
kind
friends.
of.
It's seeming like William does not actually exist.
Mm.
It's seeming like Christina turns herself into William so she can actually present herself as a white male to get things.
To get
So
power. Hmm.
right. So when she told Ruby William is the rightful heir, she might be just referring to herself.
Oh, that's deep. That's deep, isn't it? And remember episode 2? Did we ever see Christina and William in the same room at the same time?
Never.
Because I know we saw William, and then we saw Christina and her father, and we saw William, but I don't know if we ever saw them. So maybe
And
he
maybe
doesn't ever
that's why
truly.
he when we first seen him, he was like this.
Yeah, like all
And acting real
crazy and stuff.
strange. So
Didn't
yeah,
I
I'm
tell you he
starting to
looked
believe.
weird? Didn't I tell
Yeah.
you in episode 2? I
Could have
was
been
like,
because
something don't
somebody
look
else is
right.
inside of there. So now we understand that they had these magic. Yeah, I mean, they have these magic, this magic potion and spell where you can transform into either another race or another sex. Then I'm inclined to believe
Yeah.
that William isn't real.
Yeah, and that's heavy to transform into another person, no matter what they look like in another gender, and so she says that Lancaster harmed William and he's the rightful heir. So we're getting revenge for him. Really, she doesn't know it at the time. See, Ruby doesn't know it at the time. All she knows is she doesn't know that Christina is William. All she knows is that William's been nice to her. So when Christina says, if you care about him, you'll help get revenge for him. And so she plants that rock thing, the rock symbol thing in his office. And we also see somebody's held captive. Maybe they're doing some type of ritual on that guy in the closet. And she does that. But I just think it's interesting she's saying that William is the rightful heir. Like you said, maybe she means she's the rightful heir. Since we find out that she was being William. We go on in the episode and we see that Leti and Atticus have the same dream about Atticus's ancestor. Do you remember that scene?
I don't. I remember. I remember Atticus having a dream. I'm not sure if I remember Letty having that dream.
Oh, okay. Well, we'll just move past
Because
that.
it's funny because you mentioned when we did the first episode review, you were mentioning how the place was on fire, but because I had only
Hmm.
seen the first one, it wasn't on fire in the original. In the first one, it was like collapsing. There was
Smoke?
no
Oh,
fire.
okay.
So, but every time he
Oh,
had a vision about it, the place was on fire. So I wonder what that was about.
yeah, I'm curious too. And then after that, we see, let's see, we see the Sammy and drag scene with all the drags and everyone just like having a good time at the drag club. And we see that Montrose is there, and he's just kind of like lingering around in the background, just like looking a little angry. And Sammy is saying, "Y'all need to get y'all a man, because I got me a man," and something like that, you know. And you
Oh, you
see
know
them
what's
have like
interesting
this
too? This is what I did. Okay, I want you to explain this scene again. You know, because like I'm about to probably go in on it as well. But one thing I did notice because this was of the things that I seen. I don't remember. I didn't see the whole gay sex scene, so I don't know what happened in it. But I do remember they had the scene with all the the trans or the queens just sitting around talking and
the queens, yeah,
so
the
but
drag queens.
they said something about it was I thought was interesting because like I said, this is gay stuff that I just don't know nothing about. But they was talking about how I guess Montrose and Sammy were having sex, but somebody mentioned that they don't even kiss. Somebody was like, but they never kissed or something like that. Well, I'm thinking like, all right, obviously not, because how you kissing somebody, how you having sex with somebody you never even kissed before. So then in that little scene where they having a little the drag queen party, him and they kissed. They had this little trying to be real romantic kissing, and I guess that's him just that's supposed to be symbolic of him. Ty says he does and she does. He does and she does. Not sure what she was, but it's probably back. But yeah, um he kisses this man, this queen, and I guess that's a symbol of him just being accepting his gayness. Because, like I said, he's just walking in the world frustrated. He's even in this party frustrated, but as he looks around, he's like, "All right, there's clearly gay people, trans people, all this stuff, and they just being themselves." So he just kind of that's where he get this he just like I can be myself here. He kind of
Hmm.
he has this scene, and then he kisses. I guess his love. He kisses Samuel, but so that's all I can really tell from that. Obviously, it's just that's all I really got from that. That's all. So please, because you've seen both
Yeah,
scenes.
yeah. All I seen, it was like he was in like, it seemed like he was like in a magical world or something. He wasn't, but he was just kind of, loving, or just, I don't know if it was loving, but he was just like in this world of like the nightlife of being in like a drag club, and just really just getting lost in that world, and getting lost with Sammy being who he was. And I was surprised that that was still Sammy, because he looks totally different than he does.
Not to me. I know it is. I always spot these people trying to pass
Oh,
off as
okay.
women, pass off as
Oh, okay.
natural women.
Oh,
I got that
and
eye.
and so you see him just getting lost in this world, and just really just, I guess it seems like they're both just being free to be who they are. And it's lights and they're dancing and stuff, and I don't remember what happens after that, but I remember like that's what the essence of it was, like this whole idea that Montrose is trying to be free to be who he is. And so after that scene, we see uh the white co-workers on the south side with the black chick, and one of the white co-workers is of course Ruby, playing Miss Davenport, or playing Davenport. I forget the woman's first name.
I think Hillary Davenport.
Hillary. So she's playing Hillary. um, and so is that the same scene? Yeah, I think that's happened. So they're doing all of that, and basically, all I remember from that scene is the white
Explain
co-worker.
this scene real quick. I want to grab my charger so we don't have to end this too quick. So I'm gonna
Okay.
let you go. I'm gonna be right back.
Okay. So all I remember is the white boss coming on to the black sister who had been hired there. And so I remember they were having this scene where they were enjoying being at the bar, and then the sister you go to the back, the I guess like the alley, and he's coming on to her, and she's saying, "Please, no, I don't want this. I don't want this." And then she kind of just like runs off, and he says, "You nigger," or something like that. I don't know if she's getting fired or what. But I just was like, wow, that's like really unfortunate that he was taking advantage of her. But I mean, he was also taking advantage of like Hillary, who is Hillary Davenport, played by Ruby, who's undercover, and he took advantage of other women because even Ruby says she asked some of the other ladies like, "Hey, has he ever came on to you all?" You know, and you see these other women kind of like hesitant to say anything. So this whole idea of like male dominance and how males can take advantage of women in the workplace. And so Ruby sees that happening, and he sees that, hey, like every time I see Ruby watching what's going on with the black woman, and forgive us, sis, we don't remember your name, but great job to you in this role in this episode. But every time I see Ruby watching what happens to the other sister in this episode, I just feel like she's thinking like, yo, this could be me. Like it could literally be her. If she wasn't this playing this white woman or undercover as this white woman, she would be getting taken advantage of by this black male superior. And just thinking about male superiority in the workplace and how it's very real, you know? And so yeah, and so after that we see and this is when that Cardi B Red Bottom song plays a part. um Ruby decides to go and unless I'm skipping ahead, I just remember the next big scene was Ruby um decides to rip the Marshall Fields boss a new one. That's what I put. She rips him a new one. So basically what happens is Ruby goes back as the white woman, and she seduces the white male, her boss, and basically it's like a rape scene because uh we see her like basically using a shoe while Red Bottoms by Cardi B is playing to basically like,
Or the song is Bodak Yellow, but yeah,
oh, Bodak Yellow.
yeah,
I thought it was called Red Bottoms.
no,
Okay, well the shoe was red on the bottom, but like
well, yeah,
let me
she
stop.
says Red Bottoms in the song, but it's the name of the song is
Oh
Bodak Yellow.
yeah, Bodak Yellow, yeah. And so you see that happening, and I'm just like, wow. And then her flesh comes off, and she's like, I wanted you to know a black woman did this to you, or nigger did this to you. I'm like, this is so creepy. Anything about that scene? I want to backtrack. I realized I didn't talk about a scene that I wanted to talk about, but anything about that scene?
Um, I mean,
It
just
is
that I
what it
thought it
is.
was, huh?
I was gonna say it is what it is, or what? I
Oh
thought it
no,
was
I was just
grotesque, but go ahead.
yeah. I just thought it was yeah, it was another very grotesque scene. I didn't necessarily understand it. I did. I mean, I guess I did understand on a level, but like I said, that scene was another huge eye roll because and that was one of the scenes that kind of made me feel like she didn't necessarily hate the black woman because obviously in the scene she what happens is she goes into the office of this white male, her boss, and gives her resignation, and she's like, I'm resigning, I'm not working here no more. And he's like, well, what why? And she basically goes into this lie about, well, the workplace, and I really want to be with you. So he's like, all right, well, I'm with that, sure, go ahead, resign. So he gets
And he has a whole
she
wife and kids, you know.
right. And it's interesting too to bring up when Ruby was the white woman talking to the other white coworker, she asked, has the man ever got fresh with any of them? And they was like, oh no, he's a married. So that kind of denotes that he really necessarily wasn't into white women. He was into Ruby's energy, and he was also into the
No,
old girl that he
I think
hired.
he was interested in them. I think they were being hesitant because it was something that they didn't speak about as women in the workplace. I think
Hmm.
that he truly did go after all of them, but it was just something you don't talk about.
Well, it was interesting what the woman said. She didn't. It didn't seem like that. It's because
Okay.
the way she responded was, Mister something something with a family. No, because I think it almost felt like, and it's Ruby is a woman. She may not be a white woman, but she is a woman. It felt like something that women would have said around each other if it was true, and not that they were
Hmm.
trying to protect him as a white man, but it's just like it just to me, and it just to me, maybe I'm perceiving this wrong, but those three white women seem like, no, he didn't nothing with us, and maybe I don't think he. Not that they saying that men wouldn't do this. They say okay, men do this, but it seemed they kind of gave a perception like, he's just Mr. Goody Two Shoes with his wife, and
Hmm.
so that's how I perceived it. And then, but I've noticed that he made passes at Ruby early, but she is white, but even when she was dancing with the black girl, she has a black energy. You know what I'm saying? They can see that. They
Mm.
can perceive that. So I'm sure this man can perceive it. So
Did you
and she. Mhm.
go ahead?
I was just gonna say, so the fact that I didn't think she was being necessarily mean. I didn't think Ruby was mad or mean because the white man only made passes at Ruby and the black woman, and obviously he tried to rape the black woman. She bit his lip and ran off, and that seemed like what gave her the gall to go and basically rape him with her shoes. But yeah,
Yeah. Did you notice that the black woman was never in the break room? I guess they weren't allowed. Like they
yeah,
were
I did
never in
notice
the
that.
break room with the other coworkers. Also, I
Right.
want to talk about this whole idea of grotesque sex scenes. Remember there was a sex scene where Ruby was having sex with William as a
Mm,
white woman. And
right.
then she shedded her skin as a black woman, and all of this flesh is shedding, this blood and flesh is shedding on William as they're having sex. I'm like, that is disgusting. Who's having sex? That's like worse than having sex on your cycle because like you're shedding your whole body is shedding and they're just having sex like that. That's some sick stuff. Like, isn't it? What do you think about that? That was another like grotesque. I feel like we've seen so many grotesque sex scenes where it's not love and intimate softness. It's like this rough, bloody horror type of thing. And I think that's what me and the anarchist was talking about the scene earlier. It's like it was just like, well, he said he didn't see it, but like it was just like this rough spit blob thing. And she's like nothing about it is like intimate and sexual. Like how the scene was in episode one with George and Hippolyta. But with this flesh thing, like I was just like, what? How are
I might
they?
have skipped
And
past
she,
that too because I don't even remember it. I might have skipped past that too.
yeah, she was like climaxing and having sex, and she was shedding from the white woman because she said she wanted to have sex with him as a white woman or
I
something
do
like
remember
that.
that part. I do remember her saying that, but maybe I skipped past that. But I just got tired. Sometimes, like I said, if you
It was a
put
lot of unnecessary sex scenes,
that's what I'm
and it's
saying. If
like,
you put stuff in it where I feel like this actually is pertinent to the story, and I need to see this, then I'm going to watch it. But a lot of these scenes, I could skip through because I'm just like, this is going to be 5 minutes of something that has really nothing. They could have made this 30 seconds if they wanted to, if they were saving on
mhm.
time. So it's just
Yeah.
like I don't, if it's, that's a knock. I can't sit up here and lie and say, oh, those were great sex. Those were good. No, it's something that literally either made me skip past or literally made me want to stop watching the series. So it's just like, if that's what you're doing, this is somebody who watched the series who was praising the first episode, who was like, okay, that was a pretty
And
good.
what we thought in the direction we thought the show uh was gonna go. What is Mimi says that isn't this episode, if I remember correctly. What isn't this episode if you remember correctly?
Yeah, for episode 5, because that's what we're on, right? Episode 5.
Yeah, we're on episode five. Oh,
Okay.
I mean, no, because this is the only episode where she has the potion and she's shedding the skin. When we were talking about the love scene with Hippolyta and George, that was episode one. I was just bringing up like how that one seems so genuine. So if it's
Okay.
confusing, what I meant to say, you guys, was George and Hippolyta's sex scene was so genuine, and I liked it. The anarchists liked it. A lot of people thought that was genuine. And then when we get to like this episode and some other episodes where all these sex scenes are happening, that seem a little unnecessary, and we don't understand how it's driving the story. That's just what we're talking about. Like some scenes that seem necessary to character development, and other scenes it's just like, well, why are we seeing this? So that's what I meant by that, Mimi Renee. Um, but yeah, so moving forward, she says when she's having sex and shedding her skin.
Yeah, I didn't remember that happening in this episode.
Am I jumping
You might be
forward?
thinking ahead.
Oh,
And
okay.
I showed don't remember. I'm like, the only thing I skipped was yeah, that's because I went on it like I probably skipped it, but I don't think I skipped anything else in this movie. The only thing I skipped was the nasty gay scene. So yeah, that might be next episode or something like that. But
Maybe.
yeah,
I'm like, I thought this is the only I don't know. I thought this was the only episode where she was in like the I
but in
think this
any
is the
case,
only, yeah, any case, thank you so much, Mimi, for that. Thank you for that. But I think this is the only, I could be wrong, but I thought this is the only episode where she is metamorphosis. But I have to rewatch some of the other episodes too. So moving forward, so she basically quits. Ruby quits her position. She talks about how, you know, um, white people have just as many issues as black folks and even more issues or whatever she says. Then she's waiting for William to come home and she realizes that basically William sheds and becomes Christina. And she says, "You've been William this whole effing
Right.
time."
Before that, though, we got to talk about this. We got to talk about, definitely got to give a little something to that scene because I have more to say about it. The scene where Ruby, as the white woman, as she's shedding her skin again, is basically, like I said, I'm gonna be honest. No, I did not like that scene. No, I understand what it was for because I can feel, I felt like this was again one of those black girl magic scenes, which you understand why I'm saying that, at least in this case, derogatory because it's just like I've said again, I don't have a problem with black women empowerment or women empowerment, but again, you in your perception, Ruby was jealous or didn't like this black woman when she seen the black woman almost get raped by her white man. Then I guess she just feels like, okay, I'm gonna quit the job. I'm gonna tie this man up and I'm gonna anally rape him with my shoe because black power. And you better know that an N word did this. Like, okay, she didn't kill him, did she? I didn't understand that. It's like you're gonna leave. He's gonna know that you I guess people. I guess you banking on people not gonna believe him, but they're gonna believe that that a stiletto shoe was in his butthole. So it's just like I don't get it. This was just, and then you get the. I do understand because in her mind, like I said, while Misha Green was listening to her playlist and Bodak Yellow came on, and she just started this scene like red bottoms because his bottom would be red if she did this, and then as she walk away, these would be bloody shoes. Then it would be great. Like, no, it's not great. It's not. It's not. That was. I figured that out just like that. Okay, red bottoms, bloody shoes. Okay, Cardi B, which the song is so old and nobody even listens to that song anymore, but it does make sense with the scene. But when I think about the scene, okay, you just a strong woman and you just gonna anally rape this white dude based on what he did. He tried to rape a white woman, yeah, and know that a black woman did it. Yeah, yeah. What is the point? Was the point just to show a black woman do that? Because that's what it is. Okay, cool. But what's the point? That really bothered me. Cause I'm thinking like after that, what's gonna happen? Like, is she gonna press charge? Because he knows it's a black woman now, and I don't think he died. If she would have killed him, that would have been a black woman killing a white man. But as it stands, it was a black woman raping a white man. So she's not gonna get any. She's not gonna get no repercussions for that. That takes you out of the story. It's like, what happens after that?
Yeah, maybe we'll find out. But I will say this: like, I don't think she's all bloody and her skin's coming off. So this guy don't know what he's seeing. I don't think he'll be able to recognize her on the street.
Mm.
So I don't think because she's all bloody and skin, a little bit skin still on her face. Like if she was clean,
I
he
can
would
see that.
recognize
Yeah,
her.
he didn't give her. She
So
didn't know. He didn't know her real name, so
yeah, he
can't
didn't
go
know who
back in
she
that store
was.
again. I don't think because it's just like maybe he don't, maybe not gonna recognize you, and I don't think she would. I don't necessarily think after this experience she will want to go back to the store because I don't think I think that shattered her dreams. It's just like first of all, you was
Yeah,
dreaming about working at a retail store anyway, but it's
yeah.
1950s black folks. But it's just like I just didn't get. I didn't.
I
I just thought
understand.
it was just too much. It was just too much. Like I do get what you were trying to do, but it's just like I sometimes I can see those scenes because Misha Green and the writers have made us feel like different ways. Like when we talked about uh the scene in previous episodes where Letitia actually comes out and is a strong black woman, like when she busts out the windows in those cars and we see how organized the black people were. That was a good scene. It made me feel good, but I feel like maybe that scene was more so for you, for black women. Like, yeah, we can get, yeah. It is one of those scenes where I just feel like whoever wrote it was in their lifetime slighted by a white man as their boss and just had those images like, yeah, if I could do this to you, this is what I would. If I could put
I
this in a
mean,
movie,
but so many people have been, and it's not just black women. So, like
yeah.
I said, I'm all for her getting revenge on her black boss. I look at it differently. I'm all for that. I didn't want to see her doing that to his butt, but I mean, I'm all for that. All for and think about it. And it's not just black women that she's really, you know, doing this. She's doing this for black women, but I think the message is for every man who's taking advantage of women in the workplace. Like how do you feel to be preyed upon and to be, assaulted how you assaulted other people? And that's the message I got from that. I still
Mhm.
didn't want to see no woman or anybody sticking anything in anybody's butt. I didn't want to see that. So I was like, what? Like, and also let's just be clear. Um, Ruby's character is not a killer, so I don't think she would have killed him. I think the most revenge she could have done is treat him in a way that he treated other people by being a predator and sexually assaulting people. But I don't think it would have made sense for her character to kill him because as of right now, she is not a murderer or a killer. So she seems like she's a good woman who's trying to figure out her life and, whatever, have a relationship with her sister somewhat. But she's not a killer, so I don't think she would have killed him. I think that was the closest thing she could have gotten to releasing some of that rage from being a Black woman in this crazy racist society that she lives in, and that she's seeing Black bodies show up in all the time. Like she knows about killings of Black people, and she knows about a lot of stuff going on. So, and not just that, but she knows what it's like to be a woman. And like she said in this episode, people getting in her way, and she's tired of people getting in her way, especially, racism getting in her way. So the next point I wanted to bring up is, so we see that Christina is William. She's been William, I guess, this whole time. And we see Atticus, he's deciphering some languages from, he basically, Leti had taken pictures of Titus's pages. So she's taking pictures, so they got them developed, and he's deciphering some of the languages and some of the words. He deciphers 2 words, it seems like. He deciphers the word suffer and the word die, which is interesting because Black people have been suffering ever since we got on the boats and came over. We didn't get on the boats, ever since we were on the boats and came over here. So the words suffer and die are words he reads. He jumps up and calls South Korea. He calls this mystery woman from South Korea, and or Korea, North Korea. I think it's South Korea. I don't know. And he was like, "How did you know?" And she basically says something like, "Yeah, you should have never came home," or whatever. And he hangs up the phone on her. And we're like, "What is going on? What does what happened in Korea have to do with, or this woman have to do with the story? What does that have to do with the story? And why do you keep calling this woman?" And it just sounds very creepy. Like, it's some horror films that have like people whispering on the phone, or this mystery person on the phone that could be like a spirit or demon or whatever. And I'm like, I'm getting that type of vibe from these calls. Like, yeah, how did you know? What you doing? You just calling her like in these different episodes, and and so yeah. What do you think?
Well, I don't go lie. By this point, like the very, very end, I don't know if how invested I was in that because, like I said,
Yeah, because it's a lot. It's a lot going on.
It is. So I'm just like, I think I do remember him calling the lady and then die and suffering, which maybe, and I haven't seen anything past this, but maybe she's trying to denote, like, maybe the lady was telling him, like, if you go back, somebody gonna die. Maybe it's you. Maybe it's somebody you know. But it's gonna be like a lot of death and a lot of suffering. But one thing I also want to touch on that I feel like they made apparent in this particular episode is when, like you pointed out in the scene where Atticus almost beats his father to death. He goes into the basement and Letitia has a bat. And then in the next scene with them, I think he's at the bookstore, at Uncle George's bookstore, and I think Atticus tells her, because she was like, "I've seen another side to you," and he was like, "Please don't be afraid of me." I don't know what that was about, but one thing that they pointed out in this thing was I think they try to make it seem like, or I don't know if they were trying to make it seem like, or they would just point out the fact that some Black folks obviously feel that dabbling with magic, with any sort of, voodoo or any sort of spirituality, be it dark or light, is a bad thing. Or maybe just dealing with this type of magic. But because she was saying, I think Letitia was saying, maybe this stuff that we dealing with is making you this way, because she's like, I've never even known you to beat your father this way, and it seems like it was because you wanted to know more about this ancient stuff. So I think she had that before. I think she had that sort of realization before, like, is this stuff making us evil? Is this stuff making us do this, that, and the other? So
and you know what that made me think of? I thought that was like and like I said, y'all might be reaching. I felt like it was a nod to Harry Potter when they had the Horcrux, and they were wearing the Horcrux, and then they were all kind of just turning mean and angry a lot. And so I was like, that's what it made me think about. Like, the closer we get to this object or this thing we're trying to attain, and the more it's making us become dark, we're getting dark energy from it.
Because now that I think about it too, when you think about the season so far, what do we know about Montrose? We talked about, him being gay, and maybe the fact that he has to suppress that is why he's just so, people can't really be around him like that. But maybe is because one thing that we do know about Montrose is that he is actively hiding information from Atticus. He knows what Atticus is trying to find out, but he doesn't want him to find it out. What if the case is that a lot of his anger and rage and PTSD comes from the fact that what he does know about this magic stuff and has turned him into, some sort of, angry person or animal person.
Oh, wow, that's very interesting. That's
Yeah, because that
interesting.
because I'm trying to understand like why. What other reason would it be for he just really wants to keep Atticus out of this stuff? Remember, he don't want
Yeah.
him to do nothing. He don't want to go. He's
And
like, no,
what
stay out of
if, yeah, and what if Montrose wants it for himself?
it. Mm,
Because he knows, and we know now. The only person that doesn't know, well, Atticus and Letitia doesn't know, and we don't know if Hippolytus knows, but he knows that he's not his father, and he beat him trying to hold his secrets. Like as a kid, he would beat him and stuff, and he knows all this information. What if he becomes, what if he becomes the true villain in this story? Which I would hate to see the black man and the father become the true villain. But as we're leading into like our prediction for the rest of the season, what if he wants it for himself, whatever this information is? That's just another what if. Who knows? I have no idea. I'm just
that's
wondering,
definitely. I
like,
think that's feasible too because I got that feeling the second he just would slit the woman's throat because it's just like
yeah,
obviously you being a part of this order, about sacrificing and death. So I don't expect you to be apprehensive toward that, but
because
damn, you
maybe
just
he
killed
felt
this person.
betrayed. Yeah, maybe he felt betrayed. I was surprised too. And Atticus, he knows his father. He knows just how dangerous his father could be. Remember when he came to stay with him and he was punching the table or whatever, and he stood up, he checked out. That's a look of checking out. Like he knows when something's about to happen, when his father's about to have an episode. And so
Mm. And
maybe his father.
I remember that scene too. I just want to bring up real quick. I thought that was one of those scenes, and I was, it's kind of solidified by the scene where he literally almost killed his father, where he did kind of black out. But I felt like in that scene, you kind of saw because, and a lot of men noticed who had their father, which wasn't me. I did have my father, but he wasn't around, like he wasn't in the home. But there's a moment, but I hear from my friends of when you realize that you are stronger than your father. You know what I'm saying? Like Little Uzi
Mm,
Vert has this one song, "Y'all are my sons. You're gonna beat me up one day."
mhm.
Trying to, So, but it's like this. It's like at one point, as a man, when you're a boy, your father's way stronger. He can, if y'all get into a fight, he's gonna beat you up and hurt you. As you get older and you become a man, and he becomes an old man, you know what I'm saying? You get the upper hand. So all it's like, try me again, because next time you try me, you know what's going down. So it's almost like the dad was in a position where it's like, don't make me do what I used to do to you. And Atticus was like, I want you to come on. You know what I'm saying?
Oh,
I've
really?
been waiting on this
Wow.
day.
I didn't get
Yeah,
that,
that.
but I'm glad we have these different perspectives because
So
you
it's
are
just
a
like
man.
Montrose didn't do nothing because he just like, oh yeah, this might go bad for me. You know what I'm saying? At
Mm,
this point. So,
mm. I'm glad
but
you
I'm sorry,
you
I
share.
cut you off.
No, it's fine. I'm glad you're sharing your opinion because I didn't view it that way, and I'm glad you're giving a perspective from
Well,
like
I'm
a
thinking like,
male's
what
point of view.
Montrose gonna do at that point? And when I seen that, I'm like, clearly this is a muscular dude. He's your son. He's younger than you. He will tear
His
you up.
father still looked like he got hands though.
You know, like you got a goddamn.
Until they got into it, like like yeah, you're right.
You doing
But
windmills? I'm gonna beat you up, son. I was like, no. Which clearly,
uh,
obviously, he was, and that's a joke towards the game. But like I said, I'm joking on everybody. Windmills. But anyway, obviously, I think another undertone thing is remember Uncle George was saying he actually told Atticus he was younger. That's why he got it most. No, it's because they dad know that he was gay. He tried to actually beat the gay out of him. So those was one of the reasons that Uncle George
oh,
didn't get beat up as much. He tried to make, oh, I was older, he was younger. No, it's because their father at that time was trying to beat the homosexuality that he could see in his son Montrose. So maybe that's
mm.
why, came down to his son. But yeah.
Yeah, and to just go a little bit deeper with since we're just the next question, well, the question I wanted to ask is like, we're gonna go into like a few questions as we wrap up this whole idea of predictions. We can just jump to it. Like this idea of him, Montrose, like potentially being the bad guy, which I don't want to see that, I want there to be some type of salvation for Montrose. But if he is, it would make sense because he's been slighted by his brother. His brother slept with his wife and they had a baby together. And maybe he feels like, hey, I've never had the upper hand in life. I was beat as a boy. My wife, because he said, wait, am I jumping ahead? I don't know. Because I did see the next episode. But basically, him and his wife were together, and I don't know how it happened. I don't know how it became to be. Well, it had to be while they were together because he still was his father. So anyway, his wife and his brother had Montrose. I mean, had Atticus. So maybe he feels like, look, I was slighted as a kid. I was slighted as a grown man. This is for me to have. I want to have the power. I want to have something for myself, and I've always, secretly hated my life. Who knows? I hope it's not the case, but he does look like he could be like the villain and I don't know why. Like I just think and they're painting him out to be that way, but I hope there's salvation for him. I hope when it comes to it, he shows up and he is there for his son. I don't want him to be the villain. It looks like as much as they're trying to make her out to be a human character and she tricked Ruby, I really hope that Christina and her sons of Adams are the villains or who I don't really want them. I don't care who's the villain. I just don't want it to be the father of
Mm.
Atticus, who is technically now his uncle. I don't know. I don't want him to be the villain. So my question to you is this episode, who is your favorite character?
Am I in this episode? Let me think. Let me think. Who is my favorite character? Well, it's not Ruby. I'll say that. Not in this
Okay,
episode. Um, it's not the other black lady either.
I
Um,
was gonna say the other black lady,
heck no.
I don't know who's my favorite character. I like seeing Ruby vulnerable at times, but just this episode, um, I don't know. Like you get to see the actor and how she can be diverse in acting, and you get to see the actor who's playing Hillary Davenport and her diversity. Because remember, she or her range as an actor. Because remember, she was like some hillbilly like dog watcher person in like episode 2, and now you get to see her in this different aspect. So for those two actors, the woman playing Ruby and the woman playing Hillary, to just come and like really show their range, I like that. But as far as like my favorite character, I don't know. I don't know. You?
Yeah, I don't think I had one on this episode because it's just like I was just so pissed off. It's clearly not Montrose or any of the people he was dealing with because they barely was in it, and barely seen anything they was in. So at least that one scene. So it's not that whole aspect because I feel like unless they really tie it back to what's going on, I don't even understand why that's in there. Unless you're
Hmm.
just trying to, I understand you developing characters because Ruby character got developed. We understand that now. She
And Montrose's and Samuel, because Sammy, we didn't know that Samuel was into drag. I didn't that he has a
right,
whole nother life he's living,
right.
and a whole bunch of friends and people that support that life. So
Hmm.
that was the story that was like developed.
So yeah, I don't have a favorite character in this one. This was actually, and it's so funny how they just going downhill. But this is my least favorite episode, and it go exactly how it's been, exactly how the episodes go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, going down.
Yeah, one is still my favorite episode so far. It's a powerful way to start a season. Um, and yeah, I thought they did a good job at like acting in this episode and this whole narrative and the idea of shedding to a butterfly because we see Ruby transform in her beliefs. She's kind of growing up. She's already grown, but she's growing up in her beliefs and how to really view like white society and black society and being a woman and her identity. I was confused by Christina. Christina was kind of, I guess, trying to tell her like it doesn't matter if like basically, I don't know. I think she was trying to show that like it doesn't matter if she's a man or a woman or something like, you know, I don't know, like I don't know. I was confused by that, but I do believe that the acting was good and yeah, just the overall acting was good. So yeah.
Yeah, I thought the acting was good. I can't. I'm not going to sit in here and say the acting wasn't good. The acting has been pretty much the only consistent thing of this show is the
Mm.
acting, is the powerful acting. But the writing and the script is my least favorite thing about this show. I can say the acting is
The
my most
show or
favorite
just
thing.
the episode?
The entire show,
You
the
was like, I
entire show,
said what I
honestly.
said. Mm.
Yeah, I know what I
Okay.
said.
Okay, what is your prediction for the rest of the season? We're not doing episode by episode because who knows where things are headed. What is your prediction now that you've seen this episode? Things just keep getting stranger and stranger. The name of this episode is called Strange Case, and it is a strange case. It's interesting because I didn't know we were dealing with metamorphosis and this whole idea and how it's going to play and how it's going to take what's going to happen in the rest of the season, because now we know that this is another layer that they can do. Not only they have magic and all this other stuff going on, monsters, but they also have like metamorphosis. You can change and be whoever you want to be and stuff. So who's being other people? If she can change and be William, is everybody in here? Everybody. Is there anybody else who's a metamorphosis? Who knows? Like,
The only people
just
I can
asking
see is
questions.
Montrose and Christina, just people
I
who
could see
have ties
Montrose. I
to
could see Montrose. That's it. You think?
people who have ties to the lodge. Who else has a tie to the lodge
You're
except for Montrose,
right.
Christina, and Atticus? Nobody else even know magic exists like that,
You're right. You're
except for
right. You're
Ruby
right.
now. So yeah, I don't think nobody else is anybody
That's
unless we find. Yeah.
that's true. That's true. Okay. Oh, I'm yawning. Forgive me, y'all. Um, well, that is this week's episode of that is episode 5, Strange Case of Lovecraft Country with HBO. You can check it out, HBO Max. You can do a free trial and actually catch up with a few episodes if you want. Thank you so much for tuning in. I just want to make sure to shout out the Anarkist's channel. If you are a truth seeker, make sure to look at some of his content, not some of his content, all of his content. He breaks down a lot of things going on in the country and in the world. A very good scholar and good artist and filmmaker in his own right. Make sure to go and buy a Truth Seeker. Show him that shirt, Truth Seeker shirt. Truth Seeker. That is his shirt, and what he truly believes in is people who seek the truth. If you are a truth seeker, my mouth is dry. I'm over here stuttering, y'all. If you're a truth seeker, visit the Anarkist's channel. Support him. Buy a T-shirt, a mug, a phone case, a hoodie. I have 2 truth seeker shirts, and also just subscribe to all his channels. If you would like, you can become a Patreon on his accounts and just visit his channel. You'll love all the stuff that he breaks down and goes into. He's really passionate about a lot of different things, and you can learn more about that there. We're going to continue to do reviews and breakdowns of the Lovecraft TV show. We really do love narratives and breaking down stories. We have fun having these conversations, I also want to shout out to My Personal Detail. If you need your car detailed and you're in the local Chicago area, you can go to My Personal Detail. They're a mobile car wash, not mobile car wash, a mobile detail company. They detail cars, and check out their website at mpdetail.com, and also check them out on Instagram at My Personal Detail. Again, that's My Personal Detail on Instagram. They also have a YouTube channel, and you can see some of the work that they do to cars to restore your car and detail the inside and outside of your car. Also, you can check out my channel. I am Almedia Exum. If you're interested in veganism, storytelling, and all things motivation, check me out. I do a Happy Life Day motivational podcast. Also, I do Motivational Tuesdays on my Facebook account. And just check me out if you need extra motivation of any kind. I am here to uplift you and inspire you. I'm going to let the Anarkist close out and say the last word, but I do want to encourage you all to be curious and to be wild and to remember to have a happy life day. What do you want to say, the Anarkist?
All right, I just want to say, shout out to my mama, shout out to Ray Ray and them, free John John. No, I just went. I was just playing, man. And thank you guys for joining us. As you know, this has been a long show, but we really had to break this one down. It's an hour, they're hour episodes, so we got to get more than an hour because we breaking everything down in this thing. So please hit a like if you guys enjoyed this. Share it with other people who are watching Lovecraft Country, and just so they can see different perspectives on it as well. Again, like both of our channels. If you're over on Almedia's channel, like it. Come over to my channel and just like it, like the same video. Just toss back and forth, get flipped and flop. But anyway, I started reading out of here. Blessings to all y'all, man. I hope you have a good weekend because this is Friday. So have a great weekend and enjoy and manifest a lot. Don't forget to meditate, drink clean water, unfluoride water. And also, if you go on my page, you can click in the description and get black tourmaline, orgonite, and shungite crystals. What those are is they protect you against the 5G radiations and other harmful radiations. So I like to Not that I need the money because I don't even really get that much for people clicking the affiliate link, but I do promote it because I want people to have that stuff. These are things that you can have in your house that just protect you from these radiations. I probably need some more, which is why I keep getting some of these headaches because I'm probably just around some of these machine, these devices a lot, so please get those, guys. Those are things that just help you and you don't need to do anything. They just help you. So get that, not to mention the books, Mind Control 101, everything I get. So yeah, t-shirt, hit up my personal detail if you're in Chicago or Illinois or in the Midwest. And that's how we're going to do it, man. We're going to see you guys in the next review and decoding of episode 6 of Lovecraft Country. So stay tuned for that. And on Sunday we're gonna be all caught up. So how many episodes are in this TV show, do you know?
As of right, it's 10. So, episode 9 will be released. That's the newest one. So,
Okay.
and then after that is one more.
All right. So
So,
yeah, y'all, you are really into reviews. I got a feeling Almedia gonna be doing a lot of that on her channel. Am I correct in that, or
oh yeah, absolutely.
am I wrong in my assumptions?
No, you're
But
not wrong.
y'all gotta hold her to it though. Get on that channel and be like, we want some more, or comment stuff that you want her to review because she really is into film and movies. She's just as passionate about this as I am. So y'all get on. If y'all get on her, like, I mean, did you see this? Because that's how they be on me. Like, Anarkist, you got to do a video on that. I'm like, all right, you know what I'm saying? Ask nicely. No, but yeah, be that way to her because there's people in my audience who I know love movies and different things. So she's the one who you should go to so she can review it. And she knows me. She's just a stone's throw away. We both here in Chicago, so we can get on and she can tell me to watch something and we can review it right here. So which is what we need to do because we do more than just review here. We actually decode because as I told you guys on my podcast, the Anarkist podcast episode 45. I cannot watch a movie without decoding it. It just doesn't. I can't do it. Unless it's an old movie and I already know what's gonna happen. But I'm looking at stuff like, that's a symbol for this and that's a symbol for that. Oh, this is a ritual. So you know what I'm saying. So that's what I'm doing all the time, and I think that's also valuable. So we're just including entertainment because this is entertainment videos, but education as well because that's what I'm gonna do every time I open my mouth. Ain't nothing but a G
Educate,
thing, baby.
edutainment.
Yep.
Yeah.
So with that said, I'm giving Almedia the last word.
Thank you all so much for tuning in. We had a good time, and we shall see you next time. Remember to have a happy life day.